The night sky above the Zellery colony on the edge of the nebula drift was peaceful, too peaceful. Commander Tyrell stood on the observation deck of Outpost Vornus, staring into the endless dark. The stars flickered gently, as they always did. But something felt wrong. For 3 nights, their scanners had picked up brief signals, tiny pulses of energy, too precise to be natural, too deliberate to be ignored. Tyrell ordered a full scan of the surrounding space. The crew followed, although they were tired from weeks of false alarms. Everyone thought the quiet was a sign that peace had returned. After all, the war with the Kreth Empire had ended last cycle. But Tyrell knew better. Silence was never just silence near the drift. It was a warning. Without any visual or sound, the attack began. Suddenly, Outpost Vornus shook violently. Red. Lights flashed. Warning sirens screamed. Before anyone could react, 3 defense towers exploded from within, hacked from the inside. The security AI tried to respond, but was instantly disabled. The communications link to the central Zellery network went dark. The entire base was being cut off. Methodically. Unknown crafts moved like ghosts through space. They were almost invisible, small, dark, and silent. Their weapons were not traditional energy beams or missiles. Instead, they fired kinetic rods at hypersonic speed. The first impact turned a patrol ship into dust. No warning, no sound, just destruction. Tyrell shouted orders, trying to organize a defense. But the enemy didn't come in waves. They didn't speak, they didn't respond to any hails. They simply struck. Fast, efficient, precise. And they vanished before the Zellery could lock onto them. It was like fighting shadows. The alien defenders fought bravely. Fighters launched into the darkness, searching for targets. Some managed to hit back, disabling one of the stealth ships. But even in destruction, the enemy ship self-destructed without leaving much evidence. One Zellery pilot managed to fire a tracer missile that tagged an enemy vessel before being destroyed. That signal gave them one clue. The ship's armor carried a faded marking, EHF. No one knew what it meant, yet. In less than 20 minutes, half the outpost was gone. Hundreds of lives lost. Only a few ships managed to escape, limping into deep space, damaged and terrified. Tyrell's own ship barely survived after being hit twice. The crew were silent. No one had ever seen such a clean, calculated attack. Not even the Kreth had fought like this. When they finally reached a nearby Allied base, the report was sent to the Galactic Council. The reaction was mixed. Some believed it was a rogue AI faction or an experimental pirate fleet. Others thought the Zellery were exaggerating the attack. Only one word from the report caught the attention of a few older council members, EHF. That name had not been heard in centuries, not since Earth left the council. Tyrell sat alone in the med bay of the Allied base, looking at the ship logs and fragments of recorded footage. One video showed the enemy, humanoid figures in black armor, moving like trained predators. They worked without speaking, without mercy, and they left no survivors behind unless it was part of their plan. He paused the video on one frame. One of the black-armored figures had turned for a moment, and the light hit his helmet just enough to show part of his face under the visor. A human, calm, young, focused. Tyrell's blood ran cold. This wasn't a full invasion. There were no large battleships, no massive fleets, no diplomacy or demands, no declaration of war. It was something far worse. It was Recon, a scout mission, a test. The council would debate and delay. The diplomats would argue. But Tyrell knew the truth now. They hadn't fought Earth's army. They hadn't even seen Earth's true strength. What they barely survived was just the first touch, just the beginning. And if that was only a human recon team, what was coming next? The Galactic Council met in the grand spire of Valaris Prime. Its glass walls shimmered like crystal under the artificial sunlight. Delegates from over 75 species were gathered around the central ring. Each one had received the same report from the Zalari, an outpost attacked, hundreds dead, and the strange code left behind, EHF. It had spread panic across fringe systems. But here, in the center of galactic politics, many still didn't take it seriously. Ambassador Relk of the Varnock Dominion slammed his thick fist on the table. The Zalari were weak. Their defeat means nothing. Probably just pirates, maybe mercenaries testing weapons. Let's not lose our heads. His words sparked murmurs. Some agreed, others didn't. From the far end of the circle, a calm voice rose. It was Ambassador Liara of the Trellari, a long-lived race known for their memory and caution. You're wrong, Relk. This wasn't random. The attack was too clean, too quiet. And the mark, EHF. Do you know what that is? Relk laughed. Letters. Old script. Means nothing. But Liara didn't smile. It stands for Earth-Human Forces. The room went silent. Even the most arrogant species had heard whispers of Earth. Once part of the Council, the humans were known for their rapid learning, strange tactics, and intense emotions. But they had left almost 2 centuries ago after a vote that betrayed them during the Kreth Wars. Most had thought Earth had vanished into isolation, or worse, destroyed itself. Liara continued. The humans never returned, never responded. To hails. But they didn't disappear. I warned you all years ago. They were watching, preparing. Now they've returned, not with an army, but with a test. A younger ambassador scoffed. Then if that was their full strength, we've already beaten them. The Zalari survived. Terrell, the Zalari commander, stood up from the observation platform where he had been silently listening. His arm was in a sling, and his uniform still had burn marks from the attack. His eyes, however, were sharp. You didn't beat them, he said flatly. We survived because they let us. That wasn't an invasion. It was data collection. They wanted to see how we would fight, how we would react. They already knew our weaknesses. The council chamber filled with tension. This was no longer a report. It was a warning. Terrell lifted a small projector. This is from the wreckage we recovered. A small video played, a black-armored human silently moving through a destroyed Zalari hallway. No gunfire, no noise, just efficiency. At the end, the human placed a beacon, then walked away. Why would a scout leave a beacon? Terrell asked. Not to call for help, not to signal danger. This was a tag, a message. We were here, we saw you, we'll be back. Ambassador Relk growled. So what do you suggest? We attack. Earth? Hunt them down before they strike again? Liara raised a hand. You don't understand. Earth has changed. If that was just a recon unit and they still defeated a military outpost, what do you think happens when they send more? You want war with a species that hides for centuries, studies your every move, and sends only 12 humans to tear down a fortress? Relk stared at her. Then what? Sit and wait? No, she replied. We prepare, quietly, calmly. And we just try, to make contact before they decide we are the enemy. But deep inside the council walls, something darker moved. Some species wanted war, some wanted control, and some were afraid of losing power if Earth returned. A private message was sent, hidden from the council logs, to a secret fleet commander, stationed near the core systems. If you see any human activity, remove it. Outside, stars burned quietly in space. But inside the hearts of those who remembered humanity, fear was growing. Because this wasn't about revenge or politics. This was about what happened when you betray a species, and they come back smarter, faster, and ready, and Earth was never known for coming back quietly. In a dark chamber deep inside the Trillari archives, Ambassador Liara stood with two trusted aides. The walls were lined with data crystals older than most stars. This room wasn't on any public map. Only a few in the galaxy even knew it existed. And tonight it held something dangerous, something not meant for the Council's ears. Liara placed a silver cube on the table. Its surface shimmered with encrypted energy. "We recovered this from the edge of the drift, near the site of the Zalari attack," she said quietly. "It was hidden inside one of the relay satellites the humans disabled." Her aide, a young Trillari technician named Vel, looked uneasy. "Is it safe?" "No," she replied. "But we're going to listen." Anyway, the cube activated. For a moment, static filled the air, like whispers lost in wind. Then a voice came through. "Phase 1 complete. Minimal resistance. Observation successful. Awaiting authorization for Phase 2. The voice was cold, human, and emotionless. Vel leaned closer. "Was that a command?" Liara nodded. "It's a report. From one of the human Recon operatives. They weren't attacking. They were testing us, measuring how fast we react, how we fight, and what we fear." The other aide, Commander Delrock, a retired soldier from the Kravoon War, gritted his teeth. "They're planning something bigger. You can hear it in that voice, calm, controlled. That's not how humans used to sound." Liara turned off the cube. "That's what makes it worse. They've evolved." News of the leaked recording spread fast. Not officially, of course. The Council kept it quiet. But whispers moved faster than light. On mining ships, trading routes, and deep space stations, the rumors grew louder. The humans were back, and they were watching. At the edge of the galaxy, a small Zalari station picked up another signal, this time a video feed. Their captain almost shut it off, thinking it was junk, but the file was marked EHF, observation footage. They played it. The screen showed a helmet cam from one of the human scouts. Silent halls, flashing lights, aliens running in panic. Not a single bullet was fired. The humans moved past guards, security drones, even locked doors, like they knew the layout already. One of them paused at a console, inserted a small disc, and smiled. Then they left. But just before the feed ended, the soldier turned to the camera, lifted his visor, and looked directly into it. He was young, maybe 25. His face calm, almost bored. He said 2 words, "This is enough," and the feed cut off. The station officers stared at the screen in silence. One finally whispered, "That was just a recon scout?" Back in the council chambers, the debate continued. Ambassador Relk still demanded military action. "We should not wait for them to come. If this was only a recon mission, we destroy them before Phase 2 begins." But others had changed their tune. Even some of the war-hardened species were now quiet. They understood the real danger wasn't in fighting Earth's full force. It was in not knowing when it would arrive. The Council finally voted to form a research task force to investigate human activity. It was a weak political response, but it was all they could agree on. No one wanted to admit it aloud, but most of them were afraid. And for the first time in centuries, the Council chambers felt small. Meanwhile, in a secure facility far from any known world, 12 human operatives stood in silence, watching screens filled with alien news, political movements, and military deployments. One of them, the scout who had looked into the helmet cam, removed his gear and checked a data pad. "The Council knows we're back," he said. A woman beside him nodded. "They'll panic, spread confusion, just like we predicted." "Phase 2? "Not yet," she said. "They still don't understand. Let them run, let them prepare. We'll watch, learn, and when the time comes..." She looked toward the window, where a single star, the Sol system, glowed faintly in the distance. "We'll speak loud enough for the galaxy to listen." Back on Valaris Prime, Liara sent a message to a trusted contact hidden deep in the fringe worlds. It was short, urgent. The Recon team is just the surface. If Earth truly returns, we won't recognize what they've become. Because now, the galaxy had proof. Humanity wasn't gone. They were quiet, calculating, and already among them. The message had been clear, but its silence was louder than any explosion. Phase 1 complete. That phrase repeated itself in the minds of many council leaders and fleet commanders. Most of them had read the full report by now. Some tried to deny it. Some tried to downplay it. But none could ignore what was happening across the stars. In the outer colonies of the Jorak system, a trade station went dark for 20 minutes. When it came back online, the main server had been wiped clean, except for a single message written in over 30 galactic languages. You were watched. On the mining moons of Valterra, workers discovered tiny black probes hovering in the caves, completely invisible to scanners, silent, still. When touched, they disintegrated into dust. No one could explain how they got there. The moons had no record of any ship landing in the last year. In the outer shell of Dominion-controlled space, a small Varnock fleet spotted an unusual signal coming from a derelict cargo freighter. It wasn't broadcasting distress, it was broadcasting data. Military movements, fleet strength, security, codes of the Varnock Empire. Somehow the humans had hijacked the ship, copied its systems, and turned it into a spy tool. The captain of that Varnock fleet ordered the freighter destroyed. But just as the order was given, the ship exploded. On its own, like it had been waiting for someone to notice it. Across the galaxy, fear moved like fire through dry brush. Not just fear of invasion, but fear of ignorance. The Council didn't know how long the human recon teams had been active. They didn't know how many there were. They didn't know what had already been seen, recorded, or predicted. In secret rooms and black-funded projects, desperate commanders began building counterintelligence teams. Entire fleets were redirected to protect key systems. Military AI was updated. Training exercises shifted. The phrase, recon-level threat, was added to security protocols, right below full planetary assault. But it wasn't enough. On the moon of Silas Ban, a warlord named Corthan, famous for his hatred of Earth, claimed the humans were bluffing. He broadcast a challenge on open channels. Come find me, Earth cowards. Let's see how you fight without shadows. 3 days later, Corthan's flagship was found drifting above the planet with no power, no crew, and no signs of a battle. Just a single word etched across the ship's hull in burn marks. Observed. The footage spread like wildfire. Every species watched it. Even those who had never fought a war in centuries began preparing for one. On peaceful trade worlds, orbital defenses were installed. On diplomatic stations, old bunkers were reopened. And deep in the stars, pirates began avoiding any cargo marked Earth origin, like it carried a curse. Then came the message. It wasn't sent through standard galactic channels. It appeared on personal communication screens, on handheld devices, on public terminals, even across military battle nets. It was a short message, text only. Observation complete. Do not prepare for war. Prepare for truth. No name, no signature, but everyone knew who sent it. The council went into emergency session again. This time, even Relk was quiet. They had tried to control the narrative, but the galaxy had seen too much. Rumors were stronger than laws. Stories were faster than warships. And now, everyone was watching Earth. Ambassador Liara sat in her private chambers, watching the message loop on a dozen screens. She knew what it meant. The recon teams had finished their work. They had tested response times, monitored politics, watched military shifts, studied how quickly each species panicked, and now they were done. That only left one question. What came next? Back in the shadows, inside a hidden orbital lab orbiting a rogue planet, the 12 operatives of the Recon team stood in formation. Their leader, the same young man who had stared into the helmet cam weeks ago, looked at a display showing every reaction from every system they had touched. "Perfect," he said. "Exactly what we needed." The woman beside him looked over the numbers. "They're frightened. Their forces are scattered. No one trusts anyone." "And that," the young man said with a slow smile, "is when we introduce the next message." She nodded. "Should we inform Command?" He shook his head. "Command already knows. Earth doesn't guess anymore. We calculate." The humans didn't need battles to win, not yet. They had already broken the first wall, the mind. Now the galaxy trembled, and no one even knew if Earth had really come back yet, because this was still only the recon phase. Weeks passed, but no attacks came. No fleets moved from Earth. No war declarations. The galaxy waited, tense and alert, like a hunter frozen in the dark, knowing something watched from the trees. After the message, "Prepare for truth," not a single whisper came from the humans, and that silence was louder than any threat. Worlds strengthened their defenses. Patrols doubled. Intelligence agencies tore apart their networks searching for signs of the next move. But there was nothing. No strange energy readings, no troop movement, no fleet buildups. It was as if humanity had spoken, and then vanished again. Yet beneath that still surface, tension boiled. In the capital of the Drexari Unity, Chancellor Valen met in private with his top advisors. "This quiet," he said, eyes dark with worry. "It is not peace. It is planning. The humans, they are watching our reactions." One of his military commanders nodded. "Then we must act first. Strike at known Earth systems. Take out any scout bases before they send more." "No," Velen said. "If we do that, we prove them right. We show fear, and fear is the first battlefield they dominate." Elsewhere, similar conversations happened in hushed tones. On Valaris Prime, the Council considered sending diplomats. On the Varnock Dominion world of Arcos, warlords argued over launching a preemptive attack. Some wanted to crush humanity before they could finish whatever they were planning. Others feared Earth had already calculated such a move and was waiting to punish it. Ambassador Liara, perhaps the only voice of caution that still carried weight, warned the Council again. "We are not in control. Not anymore. We are reacting. The moment we struck the Zilari and exposed our weaknesses, the humans took over this game." But the most terrifying thing of all was what no one could answer. Where was Earth? Every major system scanned the Sol system, but it was empty, at least on the surface. The old Earth coordinates showed nothing but radiation clouds and broken satellites, yet every data probe sent in never returned. Every drone vanished, and the only image ever captured was of a dark sphere near Mars, unnaturally smooth and emitting no signals. It didn't match any known station or ship. Some believed it was a shield. Others said it was Earth itself, rebuilt, hidden, waiting. Meanwhile, on the edge of the Valarn Drift, a deep space science ship picked up something strange. Not an attack, not a signal, but a story in human language embedded in a drifting beacon. It was a children's tale, a simple one, about a sleeping dragon. The story told of a beast so ancient and wise it did not roar when challenged. It listened. It watched. It waited. And when the time was right, it opened its eyes, and the stars themselves trembled. The beacon ended with 6 words. "Wake not what you betrayed once." The message spread across the networks like wildfire. Everyone understood. This was Earth's way of speaking. Not through warheads or invasions, but through stories, warnings wrapped in parables. Every message so far had been carefully placed, perfectly timed. Earth wasn't hiding, they were teaching. In a remote meeting, the human recon commander met with a shadowy figure through a secure transmission. The figure didn't show their face. Only a voice spoke. Phase 1. Complete. Observation yielded expected results. Fear, division, overreaction. The commander nodded. They are watching everything but themselves, distrusting allies, preparing for the wrong war. Phase 2? The voice asked. The commander looked at his silent team, each one trained beyond anything the galaxy knew. Each one ready. We begin the corrections. Small truths. Harmless at first. Let them think they've discovered us. Let them believe they've regained control. And the council? They'll beg for peace right before they understand what they've forgotten. Above them, the stars glittered with secrets. Across the galaxy, millions stared at the night sky, not with wonder, but with fear, because Earth had shown them the future. And then, Earth had gone quiet again. But this silence, this was not peace. This was precision. The message came without a ship. No escort, no warning. Just a signal. Clean, direct, undeniable. It appeared on every major frequency in the galaxy. From warships to farmer terminals, from royal palaces to criminal hideouts, the same signal cut through the noise. It was a voice. Human. Calm. Measured. We are not your enemies. We are your reflection. You feared what you didn't understand, so we let you watch yourselves. There was no video, no name, no threat, just the voice. The message repeated once, then silence. It was worse than an invasion, because everyone understood something terrible. The humans weren't asking for war. They were stating a fact. The recon phase was complete. The galaxy's fear, reactions, and betrayals had been logged like entries in a cold, precise journal. And now, the humans were speaking, with confidence. On the Kravoon front, admirals held back fleets meant to strike deep into unknown sectors. On the peaceful world of Aryl Prime, students protested outside government halls holding signs that read, "Don't wake the storm." Even pirate clans began avoiding any route with old Terran beacons. Something had shifted, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, strategically. The galaxy had realized it was no longer hunting Earth. It was waiting for Earth's next sentence. In the council chamber, silence hung like a shroud. Ambassador Liara stood, her voice steady, but her eyes showing strain. "You've all heard the message," she said. "They've said only one thing. They watched. And now they speak. No more recon, no more silence. This is the next phase." Relk scoffed. "What next phase? A riddle? A few whispers?" "No," she replied. "The truth." Outside that chamber, truth began arriving in files. Somehow, documents started appearing on public networks across the galaxy. Leaked council discussions, secret weapons projects, corrupt deals, massacres covered up during the Zalari Wars, but there was no trace of who released them. Each document was marked with one sentence: "You lied to your people, we didn't." The panic was immediate. Protests, uprisings, entire planets shut down communications, hoping to stop the flow of information. But it kept coming. In every major species capital, civilians began demanding to know what else had been hidden. The Council lost control of its image in just 2 weeks, all because of Earth. But this wasn't an attack. It was exposure. Back on a Black Ops station orbiting a dead star, the human recon commander stood with his team. They had completed every mission without being seen, but now their job had changed. The woman beside him, Intel Specialist Ria Chen, displayed the chaos map on the holo screen. 17 governments exposed, 5 military projects shut down, 4 resistance movements activated, and no counterattack yet. The commander nodded. The best battles are the ones you never fight. They're still searching for our origin point. They won't find it, he said. They keep looking for a planet, but Earth isn't just a location anymore. She smiled faintly. It's an idea. The commander looked out the window where the stars drifted quietly. Exactly. Across the galaxy, the narrative shifted. Earth wasn't being hunted now. It was being studied, respected, even feared like a myth. Children told stories about the Watchers from Earth. Soldiers whispered prayers before battle, hoping they wouldn't meet a human in the dark. Then came the final file. It was sent to every government, every leader. A full report, uncensored, titled Galactic Stability Forecast, based on observations from Human Recon Unit 7. It contained predictions, political collapses, fleet movements, internal betrayals, civil unrest, every major threat, mapped out with terrifying accuracy. The last line of the report read, "This is what we see when we look at you. This is why we stayed quiet, until now." Some saw it as a threat, others saw it as a gift, but none could deny the truth. Humanity didn't need to attack the galaxy. They had already broken its illusion of control. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Liara stood alone in the observation deck, looking at the stars. One of her aides whispered, "What do we do now?" She didn't answer at first. Then she said softly, "We pray they speak again, before we do something foolish." Because war wasn't coming, truth had already arrived. The stars waited. Systems waited. Fleets waited. Across the galaxy, every eye turned toward the silence that followed Earth's final report. The humans had not attacked. They had not demanded surrender. They had not claimed territory or insulted any race. They had simply revealed the truth about the galaxy, about the lies, and most dangerously, about what humanity saw. It left the most powerful empires speechless. Council meetings stopped being about war. Now they were about interpretation. What did the humans mean by stability forecast? Were they threatening intervention? Was it a message of peace or control? On outer colonies, statues were painted with the Earth symbol, an old, forgotten blue and white globe. Some viewed humans as saviors, others as monsters hiding behind information, but none dared move against Earth. Then it happened. A ship appeared. It entered through a long-abandoned wormhole, one previously believed to be unstable. No weapons. Powered. No fleet behind it. Just one ship. Small, black, and quiet. It approached the old Galactic Council neutral zone, once used for peace talks. No messages, no hails. It simply waited. Then a channel opened. The voice that came through was human, calm and clear. No more recon, no more silence, one envoy, one seat at the table, one chance to listen. That was it. The ship transmitted coordinates for a meeting on an artificial moon called Virex Station, a place untouched for decades, once used for failed treaties, now chosen by the humans. They were inviting, not begging, and the galaxy responded. Every major faction sent a representative, but they didn't bring weapons, they brought questions. The room inside Virex Station was round, ancient, and cold. In the center stood a single human. He was unarmed, dressed in simple Earth garb, young, calm, unshaken. "I'm not a general," he said. "I'm not a politician. I'm the result of what you feared. A recon officer. You feared our soldiers. But you should have feared our silence." The council speaker, a tall being of the Larnith species, asked what the galaxy had wanted to know all along. "What do you want?" The human looked around the room. "We want what we always wanted, to belong, to learn, to share. But you tried to erase us, exile us, hunt us. That mistake is yours. We never declared war. We observed it." Another representative, this one from the Varnock Dominion, leaned forward. "If you didn't want war, then why did you terrify us?" The human's expression didn't change. "Because you only understand power, And we needed to speak in a language you couldn't ignore. Silence. Heavy and thick. The human continued. We have fleets. Yes. We have weapons. Yes. But we've also watched, listened, and learned your weaknesses, not military, but moral. Ethical. Logical. A flick of his wrist activated a holomap. It showed all the empires and their cracks, internal rebellions, secret plots, corrupt leaders. We exposed what was already there. We didn't break you. You were already broken. The council speaker's voice was low. And now? The human paused, then answered, Now you choose. And just like that, he stepped back. He didn't hand over ultimatums. He didn't demand submission. He offered awareness. In the days that followed, the council voted, not on war, but on partnership. Humanity was offered a seat, on one condition. They would not deploy recon units again without warning. The human envoy smiled. They already finished their mission, he said. They're home. Across the stars, something changed. Fear didn't vanish, but it evolved. Species no longer dismissed Earth as a young, reckless world. Now they spoke of humans the way one might speak of a force of nature. Unpredictable, powerful, patient. Back on Earth, in a hidden base beneath the old Himalayas, the recon team returned. The young commander sat before a global briefing panel. He gave his final report with steady words. The galaxy blinked, and in that blink, we changed them. One general nodded. And us? The commander looked up. Now we know. We don't have to invade. We don't have to destroy. We just have to remind them. He stood and spoke his final words. Earth never forgets. Earth never forgives. But Earth always watches. And in the dark between stars, every empire remembered the day humanity finally spoke, not with ships, but with truth that could not be unseen.